Hi guys, it's Tait here with Lawrence. We're about to share with you the weekly China marketing news. This is where we cover the news that we think affects companies that are selling into China. We've been running a newsletter on this for a very long time. The newsletter and the blog been running for 10 years, and now we're starting it in a video format. I think this is our 5th or 6th edition. This week, we make a little change. We're going to cover more news items, and we're going to do them shorter, make it a little bit more exciting for you. Okay, so let us get started now. The first thing that we're going to look at is this WeChat ban. And this is the number one thing that people keep asking me about. And it's been really unclear this whole time. Trump, he likes to say some crazy things. He likes to shake things up, and he said that he's going to ban WeChat and TikTok. But they haven't been banned yet. This is what this article here from socialmediatoday.com says. It says, as negotiations continue on the sale of TikTok, a U.S. judge has also halted the White House's executive order, which would have seen Chinese-owned messaging platform WeChat removed from the U.S. app stores on Sunday. So WeChat was supposed to be banned, but it hasn't been banned yet. It's been blocked by a judge. That's good news for us people in marketing, good news for any U.S. business that is selling into China. And then further, it also says that on Saturday, U.S. Magistrate Judge Laurel Beeler ruled that the WeChat ban could not go ahead due to lack of evidence in relation to the concern that the app is a threat to national security. So, surprise, surprise, WeChat maybe is not a major threat to national security. It is an app that people use to chat with their friends and chat with their family back home, and it's an app that U.S. businesses use to sell a shitload of stuff to China. Maybe it's not a national security threat. What we've said before and what we'll say again today for marketing advice is that as of now, WeChat can still be used as normal. Still, I would say that you shouldn't put all your eggs in one basket. You shouldn't only be using WeChat to sell into China. You should be using other channels too. You should be using maybe using other social media like Douyin or like Weibo, or maybe you use Zhihu or Baidu or whatever. You got to have multiple channels that you're using to make sales in China, because you don't know what's going to happen in the future. You don't know what Trump's going to do. You don't know what WeChat's going to do. And those channels could end up drying up.
Correct. I feel like I always feel very confused about the ban of WeChat. And recently I read this news, and I wonder, like, if the judge is gonna halt this ban, and what is the reason for like ban the WeChat? What is the purpose? I feel like very confused. I don't see like the meaning of ban the WeChat. I mean, there's a thousand of apps for communication, but probably WeChat is just too good. I don't know. I just feel weird as a Chinese perspective.
Yes. Well, it is also confusing for other people to figure this out. But I think that I don't know why Trump wants to ban WeChat exactly. I don't know that it's a security threat totally. I think he wants to make it so things are cleaner and safer in USA, and they're not threatened by China in some way. It could hurt him, because some Chinese people, some Chinese voters actually, they like Trump. I think they'll like him less now. And I don't think we should look too far into the politics or the reasons of why this is going on. It's kind of beyond us. It's just that the situation is unstable. We don't know what's going to happen in the future.
Yeah, it's not good to give a statement about what's going to happen or what will be happen from maybe next week, if everything just changed too fast. So maybe it's better to not talk about too deep into politics. Yeah, probably we should switch to another topic.
Okay, let's move on to the next one here. All right, about Huawei. Huawei is going to release this new operating system. Okay, and it's going to be called the Harmony OS. And this is what the news here from TechNode says. It says, on September 10th, the company announced that its in-house mobile operating system, the Harmony OS, will be available on handsets starting next year. Okay, so we've heard about this operating system before. Now they're releasing some more details about it and giving an actual timeline for it. Also, the company faces challenges ranging from establishing a profitable business model to attracting app developers. This gets to the key situation here. It's tough to launch a mobile operating system. Even Microsoft did it, and they didn't succeed. They had to back out. So could Huawei actually be successful at it? I don't know. It looks pretty tough for them to do. They'd have to persuade a lot of developers to join on, and it seems like they're going to make it easy for developers by making it easy to port the apps from Android to Huawei's Harmony operating system. But still, developers will take a wait and see kind of attitude to it. They don't want to spend a lot of money and effort trying to adapt their apps for an operating system if they don't even know if it's going to take off, right? So what will happen there? Now, the other thing is that maybe the Chinese government will give them a big boost because the government could say that all Chinese phone manufacturers that sell phones in China, they need to also offer this Harmony operating system. If they made some kind of a rule like that, it would just give it a lot more clout, and it really could maybe have enough momentum to become the world's third major mobile operating system.
From my point of view, I would say that Huawei has a very big market in China. I would say Huawei will be the #1 mobile phone manufacturer in China. And probably I would say for now, most of people are using Huawei. Even my parents are using Huawei. But when talk about Harmony system, I feel weird because once if they just mentioned that they will have the system ready by next year, but not exactly what date. Like if they're ready by July next year, that will be after a year. That's just way too long. And if people couldn't use their mobile phone to download any apps, how are they going to maintain this kind of a situation?
Hold on. Why do you think it'll be too long?
If after a year, that would be very long because that would just after like 10 months later. And if any update on probably Android or iOS that Harmony couldn't get from those developers, just as you said, Huawei need to talk to any companies like WeChat, Alibaba to ask these developers to update those new apps. But this costs extra monies for those companies. Are they willing to do that for Huawei? I don't know. It's just too complicated. Like in the past, they only need to develop two kind of system, one for Android, one for Apple. But for now, they have to have the third one for Harmony, and that's just extra cost for them. But I don't see extra income for that one. And why should those companies do that? Like,
well, they could have extra income if a lot of phones are using that operating system. They could have extra income from it, and they could, if they got in early, they might be able to grab a big market share because there's less competition. So it's not impossible that they could launch this. I mean, if there's anybody in the world right now that's planning to launch a third mobile operating system that could potentially be successful, I think it would be Huawei. So we'll see.
It's a very tough time for Huawei, but we will see. Actually, as a Chinese, I hope that Huawei could have that Harmony system. And if they do, probably I would switch my iPhone to Huawei. Give it a try.
Yeah, because a lot of Chinese people, they want to support Huawei because it's a Chinese company. They have that.
Yes.
Yeah, they have that support, which is great.
But I will also say that Huawei's phone is getting better and better.
Okay, let's move on here. Okay. This one about the Chinese yuan strengthening. The estimates are that the Chinese yuan is going to get stronger. The US dollar is going to get weaker. From this article here from CNBC, Goldman Sachs expects the onshore Chinese yuan to strengthen to 6.5 per dollar over the next 12 months. The driver behind this phenomenon was the loss of U.S. exceptionalism. as factors that previously propped the dollar up, such as relatively better economic growth stateside, have gone into reverse. So, I mean, in my non-economist, from my non-economist kind of viewpoint here, what I'm seeing is that U.S. economy is kind of sucking, and Chinese economy is doing well. So they're thinking that the Chinese dollar is going to appreciate in value, and it's good news for people that are selling into China, right?
I think one thing I can share is we still see a lot of COVID-19 going on all over the US, but in the mainland of China, it's just, I would say, just completely, no, I wouldn't use completely.
Yeah.
99% are safe, 99% of area safe. So you are good to travel within the country, and all the business, school, and entertainment are back on date. So I would say that this is an opportunity that like overseas companies see in China. So they say that, oh, China is safe to invest. We can sell product to China, and we can make some money in there. But US is still it's kind of chaos now. Like the protest, COVID-19, everything I think just too messy for investment.
Right. Okay. I'm going to talk more about investment coming up here too. But I think that's like your layman's point of view and my layman's point of view is basically the same as what these expert economists say too. Stuff in USA is just too messed up, not going so well there. Stuff is going well in China. So the Chinese dollar is going to appreciate too. But just for takeaways for people that are selling into China, the Chinese dollar is going to be worth more. That's good if you're selling stuff into China. Okay. You can make more money from China. And, for companies like us, like Nanjing Marketing Group, Lawrence, it might be better for us to charge based in Chinese yuan instead of US dollars, because for companies that are operating in China that have expenses in Chinese yuan, they don't want to have revenues in US dollars. They don't want to have revenue contracts in US dollars that are going to decrease in value, or they could get in some trouble there. Still, this change is not big at all. Like they're talking about a change from 6.8 yuan per dollar to 6.5, which, it normally wouldn't even be news. Like currencies fluctuate so much, but the Chinese currency and the US dollar rate does not fluctuate much normally. So even this change is news. Let's move on.
Sure.
Okay. So this next one is about Chinese travel restrictions. And, it's been really hard for foreigners to get into China. Flights across the world have been really tough, but it looks like it might be relaxing a bit. What this news from China Briefing says is foreign nationals holding valid Chinese resident permits for work, personal matters, and reunion can enter China without applying for new visas. It's effective from September 28th. So that's good. They're going to let some people in, basically. They're going to let some foreigners with Chinese resident permits back in. And also it says that domestically, many provinces and cities require mandatory home-based or centralized quarantine for inbound travelers, either from overseas or other Chinese provinces and cities that are at medium or high risk level, although the policy details can differ. So I've talked to people that have gone back to China, and they've explained the process to me, that what they've gone through. And basically, when you return to China from somewhere else, you got to go through quarantine. So you got to stay in a hotel for a while. You stay for 14 days or something. 2 weeks, yeah. But the details can differ from place to place. Like even if you're moving from one Chinese province to another, you might have to do quarantine. So that is a big hassle. Like if I went to China and I had to stay in a hotel room by myself for 14 days without going out at all, I think I'd be going a little bit crazy. It's like being in jail.
But I think for now, for most of the cities, if you, for example, if Tate, you come to China, either which cities you coming in, you will be quarantined for 14 days for sure. And you have a multiple COVID tests to make sure you are negative to go. And after 14 days, you will have your barcode, which highlights your medium or high risk level. Probably you will be low level. That's a green sign. Then you can travel within China without code and the barcode, so you're safe to go. But however, some cities still have some COVID-19 patients, and if you have contact with them, probably your barcode will go to yellow, that is medium. And if unfortunately you've been infected again, and that will be high risk for you, and you'll be lighted as red, and then you have to go to quarantine for another 14 days again. Yeah. So, but most of the time, if you just keep your mask on, I think it's safe to travel within China.
Yeah. The kind of quarantines and the monitoring that they do there in China are a lot more intense than I have here in Alberta, Canada. And we have had various types of lockdowns and such, but not the kind of lockdowns where people are monitored and legally have to stay in a certain place. They might even say, like, after you travel and you come back home, you're supposed to stay in your house for 14 days, but they're not going to make you stay in a hotel and monitor you and watch that you stay there.
As far as I know, one of my friends came back from Australia, and the first thing Chinese government do to him is do a COVID-19 test for him, and he shows negative. And then he been transferred to a hotel that is around 100 kilometers away from airport. And then he stayed there for now, I think it's 12 days to 13 days. And they do a COVID-19 test every day to him. And it's kind of like, as you said, it's like jail. Yeah. You can't go out. And all you can do is stay in the hotel.
Okay.
Yeah, you can have your laptop, you can play games. Yeah.
So he's done 13 days of his sentence, and he'll have one more day and he'll be free, right?
Yeah, one more day. I think tomorrow will be the last day. After tomorrow, he'll be good to go back to home, or maybe have a short trip. I think he's been just too long in a jail.
Okay, let's move on to the next one here. This one's about climate change. Now, they had the UN General Assembly, and Xi Jinping was there. And what he said is that China will aim to hit peak emissions before 2030 and for carbon neutrality by 2060. That sounds really good. Let me read that. I'll give my opinion after I finish reading these quotes here. Next is that China is the world's biggest source of carbon dioxide, responsible for around 20% of global emissions. Until now, China has said it would peak its emissions by 2030 at the latest, but it has avoided committing to a long-term goal. China isn't just the world's biggest emitter, but the biggest energy financier, and biggest market. So its decisions play a major role in shaping how the rest of the world progresses with its transition away from the fossil fuels that cause climate change. So this is pretty cool, because a lot of times other countries that don't contribute to as much to climate change as China does, they will say, why should we make these changes to our economy? Why should we do anything? Why should we take this burden if these other bigger polluters aren't doing it too? That's the most common opposition that I hear to climate change in smaller countries like Canada, but also countries that are smaller polluters like even USA. Even USA is smaller than China, right?
Yes.
So this is just this signal of leadership in combating climate change is really great. And from a business point of view too, people got to pay attention to this, because if Xi Jinping says this, if he says that China is serious about combating climate change, I believe that they are serious, and they will want to get the best technology they can, the best solutions they can to fighting to fighting pollution, to fighting climate change. And that just leaves a lot of opportunities for foreign businesses that have great technology or solutions in this area. And we don't have, I think, now, actually we have had in the past, but right now we don't have any clients that are involved in improving the environment or climate change or anything. Even though I
Actually,
talk, I
we do. I think we do. I think recently we have the automotive project. I think that
okay,
one is part of the green energy one. I would say
oh,
they are contributing less emission to Chinese market
okay,
because yeah,
okay,
that was my point.
right. So
So I
not
would say from yeah,
not
go
a
ahead.
company that's like dedicated to doing just improving the environment, but a company that is big nonetheless and has taken climate change seriously, right?
Yes, I would say that. So I
Okay.
think for this article, I have 2 points. First, I would definitely agree with you about if our president is serious about climate change and want to do something, and I think that all the government and authorities will be starting to do that, because I think that's just different between political system from China and all other countries in the world. And the second point is from one of our project recently. I think it is about autonomous driving. So this autonomous driving are all installed onto new energy vehicles. And recently on my research, I found an article just after this conference. I
Mm-hmm.
think Chinese government want to promote the new energy vehicle industry. So they want to have more clean energy vehicles on the street rather than
Yeah.
have too many few cars. So
Yeah.
that means, yeah, you know, the Chinese have like 1.4 billion people. Like half
Mm-hmm.
of them have a car, and if all of them are driving a few cars, of the carbon emission will go higher. But if we say the industrial transformation is successful in probably next 5 or 10 years, I would say the carbon emission is gonna decrease a lot by 2030.
Yeah. I hope so. I hope so.
Mhm.
It'll be nicer to spend time in China. You know, maybe myself and my kids won't get our noses plugged up as much, but that's kind of a selfish view of things. There are bigger things going on here. Hopefully, they keep that global warming down to a minimum.
Mhm.
Let's move on to our next one.
Sure.
All right, so this one's pretty short. The only quote I have here from the article is that China has reached more than 110 million 5G users, making it the biggest 5G market in the world. So when I hear that, I think, okay, that's cool, but what exactly does it mean for regular people, or what does it exactly mean for marketers? Because with the speeds that people have now, they're already able to watch as much video content as they want. They can watch their because video takes the most bandwidth, right? But people can watch their
Mhm.
content on Douyin or Bilibili or whatever.
Mhm.
Um, so what exactly is everybody going to be able to do? What exactly are consumers going to be able to do better with 5G everywhere?
I would say for now, I think most of people don't really see the big difference between 4G and 5G. As you say that even if you just use 4G, it's fast enough to see everything you wanted. But I would say 5G would be a big revolution in industrial, as I can't really tell like how and what exactly.
Yeah.
But let's just make an example of like 3G and 4G. Back to 3G, I don't think like any of us would think that 4G would come so fast and change the world so rapidly. As you can say, the
Mm-hmm.
Facebook, those video platform, and
Yeah.
takeaway platform goes on in China, even Alipay and WeChat Pay. And this is
Yeah.
all come from 4G. I think it's
Right.
too early to say that what 5G will bring to us, but I would say that probably in the future, maybe next 2 or 3 years, 5G would make a difference. But until
Mm-hmm.
now, as you said, I don't really see a difference. Even it's already hit like 100 million users, but
Yeah.
that's just I don't see like a big news on that. But I hope that one day 5G could bring something new to us,
Yeah.
like
All
probably
right.
VR games.
So it gives more bandwidth for who knows what is coming in the future.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm cool with that. Okay, let's move on to the next one. We got two more things here. This one's about foreign direct investment in China. I'm looking at silkroadbriefing.com. And the quote here is they say China's Ministry of Commerce has stated that for the year as a whole, foreign direct investment into China has already exceeded that of 2019. That's US $91 billion. That's pretty cool, right? There's still 3 more months in the year, and they've maybe they didn't even calculate September. They just calculated January to August, and their FDI has already beat last year's, which is pretty cool. What they say is China's Commerce Ministry data illustrates that investors have been pouring their money into the country for 5 months in a row in search of a diversification of opportunities, as most of the world remains engulfed in the COVID-19 pandemic. Also, investments in the high-tech service sector showed the greatest growth at 28.2% in the first 8 months of 2020, while the service industry came in second with a 12.1% spike compared to the previous year. So what's going on here, I guess, similar to the currency improvement, is that Chinese economy is doing well. Businesses want to invest. They want to make money. They are looking for places to invest their money. And a lot of places aren't looking so good right now because of the pandemic. China's doing better. So they're investing their money into China. And, some of the sectors that are doing well are the high-tech services and the service industry in general. We were talking about that a couple of weeks ago, but it's funny. It's not something that people involved in China marketing often talk about, because usually the people talking about China marketing are talking about e-commerce, right? But there are huge opportunities when it comes to high tech and when it comes to services, when it comes to helping Chinese businesses to become more effective, helping China as a whole become more environmentally friendly, and many other things.
I think one thing I really should share is that from after the COVID-19, after it's been controlled by the Chinese government, I think the Chinese government is encouraging small and medium business to grow up, and that actually gives those foreign investors a lot of opportunity to invest in. So as you said, they could help those businesses to get more efficient in terms of maybe technology or things they don't know about, because not every company is like Alipay or Taobao is still so rich and they have so many employees to help with, and that is when those investors could jump in to provide a service or a technology to help.
Wait. I didn't catch that last part. They're helping what?
They're helping like a Chinese small and medium business to getting better in terms of like technologies. If they need some technology that is very useful, they could sell their service or their technology to China.
Okay, so I'm going to talk a bit more about high tech in this next one. I don't have an actual article here. So I'm just going to show mine and Lawrence's faces when I share these things that I learned from a webinar that I attended earlier today. So I watched this webinar about China's cyber security system. And I'll leave you the link there. It's from Harris Bricken. And what they said basically is that China's cybersecurity system is basically a cyber insecurity system, because the system is set up in such a way that whatever data you have, whatever's going through Chinese networks, should be totally accessible to the government. It's not secure. You cannot keep it to yourself. It is very, very hard to keep it yourself. You probably, if you are running a business in China, you probably cannot keep your data secure at all. What they said was that things have changed over time. Now, the CCP used to see the internet as something to fear, but now they see the internet as something that they can use to control companies and individuals and things in China. It doesn't sound like they're trying to control it to do something spooky or evil, but they're trying to control it so that they can improve the economy. That's their goal, to improve the economy. And they're acquiring technology, they're acquiring information from everywhere that they can. all the data that goes through the Chinese networks can be accessed. This might be called hacking in some places,
Mm-hmm.
although maybe in the Chinese government documents it's not called that. From their wording, the Chinese government is the #1 hacking organization in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And some changes there have been changes to wholly owned foreign enterprises in China. Actually, technically, what they said was that there aren't really this term of company called wholly owned foreign enterprises anymore. There are just Chinese businesses, and Chinese businesses can be owned by foreigners too, and depending on the industry that you're in, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they went into a lot of detail about all the different ways that the Chinese government can get access to information, but I can sum it up as regular cybersecurity techniques will not help companies keep their data secure, because if they're operating in China, they will need to use certain Chinese programs, certain Chinese apps to be able to do things like get their accounting data and submit it to the government, or talk to different government people. And those apps themselves are the ones that are insecure and are going to allow the government to get whatever information that they can. And they summed it up with a couple words. They said, there's no place to hide. Basically, if you do business in China, your data is going to be stolen, and it will be used by the Chinese government, police, military, maybe your competitors, and businesses in China in other industries. So that's really important strategic information for companies that want to do business with China, right?
Mm-hmm.
If they're very high tech and they absolutely have to maintain their data, it sounds like they can't be operating in China. But from my experience, we know a lot of companies that have a high tech aspect to them, but they're not necessarily operating in China, sharing all that data. They are sharing all of their secrets. They're operating from without of China and providing a service to companies within China too. That's a way that they could go about things. I don't know if you have any thoughts on this one, Lawrence. This is a bit of a thorny issue.
Actually, for this one, I saw the news a few days ago. By reading this article, it comes to one question comes to my mind: is that safe for Chinese government to say that all the data they have been collected through different apps would only be maintained and saved in government probably system, and not would be those kind of data will not be used by any, for example, your competitor and other industrials? I think it's very difficult for government to say those kind of information will not be used within the government, like
Right.
police or military. But
Yeah.
I think one of the most thing that those high-tech company worries about is that if those kind of data is saved in Chinese government system, and once they have been used by their competitors, and they will just lost everything in China. For example, they've been operating many years in China, and all their secrets and data has been evolved or has been stolen by their competitors. That's just very terrible.
The cybersecurity expert that gave this webinar that I listened to, what he said is that some companies don't understand the full risk, because they think the risk is that one of their competitors will have their information and will then be able to copy their technology or use their data or whatever it is. But that's not necessarily the risk, because really what's more likely is that all of their competitors in China or companies in other industries and the government, everything will have their data. So that does sound like a pretty extreme risk to me for certain high-tech companies. But for other companies, the risk would be overblown, because there's a ton of apps and tools out there that they are actually technology companies, but anybody could look at the app and copy it. Even if they didn't have the data, they would be able to totally clone the app, and they would be totally able to do it within China. So really, because this webinar I attended was legal experts, cybersecurity experts. That's who it's from, right? But from a marketing point of view, I know that it's often not really technology that sets businesses apart. What sets them apart is that they have a great brand, they have great customer support and sales. It's really easy to do business with them. They're putting out awesome educational resources on their blog and their Jihu account, and all of these things are what could build a great company in some cases. So some of those companies, they could take some of them could take the opinion that, well, I'll do business in China and my technology just gets stolen, but I'm still just going to outcompete those other businesses because I am the OG in this niche, and we're going to do it better. We're going to be loud. We're going to be awesome, and just outcompete other companies. And that is something that we see happen too.
Yes, I was thinking here that innovation is great for those companies. So as long as you keep coming with new ideas and you just keep updating, as Tate said, you could just keep coming with new resources and new marketing strategies on either Zhihu or Bilibili. I think you still can do a good business in China. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It just depends on the industry. Either something that's super high tech where technology is absolute importance. Maybe they can't do business in China, but they just need to understand the legal and the marketing impacts of this. Okay, Lawrence, I think this is about good here. So let's wrap it up. I'll look at the people on the camera for a second. This has been an edition of our weekly news. If you like this kind of information, give us a subscribe. Also, let us know how we're doing. Let us know what we're kind of sucking at or what we're doing good at, what other information you want to have. I look forward to seeing you in the future. Bye.
See you. Bye-bye.